Hearty welcome to all. Today we are going to have the 21st episode of Community Media's cultural program In Pursuit of Roots. All of us know we modern people now give much importance to our style of dressing. But one thing we have to remember, even the ancient people of all corners of the world gave importance to the particular style of their own time. But unfortunately, one thing is there, in ancient times, all the kinds of people, all segments of society were not allowed to wear all kinds of dress. The details of the ancient Kerala's dress code, the dress code of ancient Kerala. Now we can hear from Dr. Mohan Varughese. Sir, we have been discussing various aspects of ancient culture.
Yes.
For the previous some episodes we are dealing with the Sangha era.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Not only Sangha era, I am going to ask you one question. What kinds of our ancient people wore in those days? And also, I want to know, not only I, we would like to know, the relation between the climate and dress style of a particular country.
Yeah.
Especially our ancients, what kinds of dress they wore and how far the climate of that particular period, I insist the period I dress, this period also should be mentioned.
Yes, yes.
Climate is changing now.
Certainly, climate had a great bearing traditionally, historically. Climate had a great bearing on what people wear across the globe, in fact. Not only in Kerala, all over the world, people choose at a given period of time in history, people choose their dress depending on the temperature level, whether the area is a tropical area or the harsh climate or very hot climate or a temperate zone. So dress code or dressing pattern depends much on the climate. In case of Kerala's ancient past also.
In ancient Thamizhakam?
Ancient Thamizhakam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu region is called ancient Thamizhakam. Thamizhakam people wore dress reflecting the humid, hot and humid condition, the tropical humid condition that prevailed in ancient Thamizhakam. Even now, the climate is more or less same. It is a shade hotter now, maybe 2 degrees Celsius hotter than the past, but still more or less same. Therefore, people chose to wear very little. Whatever be the kind of dress they wore only very little.
Essential only.
Absolutely essential. Body parts of the human anatomy needed to be covered. The bare minimum dress was used. Both men and women. They were wearing only a single piece cloth, a loin cloth that is very small in size, that covers the bottom half up to knee length, mostly, unless you belong to a different social strata. And upper half, the chest part of it, the upper torso remained naked for both men and women, no matter whether they belong to royalty, aristocracy or common men.
All kinds of people
who are original Dravidian people who lived here, unless they are the people who came from outside, because outsiders had a different dressing pattern, but when they come here they also change over to the local pattern. So this is the thing, and therefore they never thought that nudity is something to be shunned. Or nudity is something, the nakedness.
So even they are not ashamed of naked.
Not at all.
No.
Because nobody used to stare, this is all a present day thing, people become, when you wrap the entire body, you become, you have so much of inhibition, and you have a lot of curiosity, people want to know what is inside, and therefore people stare. But there, the Sankham literature gives a depiction of beauty, which is not wrapped, not fully covered. Bare minimum body parts, private parts are covered. Of course, those days also. But they were never ever overdressed as we are doing now. In fact, they were underdressed, to be more precise. In present day standards, they were rank under clad. So that was the general thing. Yeah.
And in ancient people in Malayalam used a term, Udayadagal. What is the significance of that particular term? Udayadagal.
Uda and Ada, Udai, we say. In Tamil, that is Sankham Tamil, Udai is something which is to wrap around, to wear. Anything to wear is called Uda. Udukkuga. That means even now we say munde or dhoti, a loin cloth or a lungi that we wear, we call it udukkuga. So that's a bare minimum thing. Everybody would be using Uda. And Taja Uda was a very, Taja is a material. It is material used, it's a material which is processed and used. It's a plant. The fiber of which is taken by a process and woven into something.
It's a plant.
It is something like it is in the same family of pineapple plant. Something like that. Palm-like, plant. Taja Uda. Taja Uda. It's a common man's dress for ladies. Neela Tarayuda was a style statement those days. Neela, blue colored used. Neela Tarayuda. So Uda. Ada is more expensive. Ada is an addition. Ada may be stitched, may not be stitched. Mostly Ada is for the aristocracy. People who are in the upper rung of society prefer to wear Ada also along with Uda. Mostly the upper part of the body covered with Ada.
Did there exist the tailoring and stitching in those days?
As I mentioned earlier, people prefer to use a single piece cloth.
No stitching needed.
No stitching required. To give it a shape. The hands are not stitched, the neck is not cut. Only wrapping around on waist. And that too, upper part is hardly ever wrapped around. Therefore, stitching was hardly necessary unless it is for adai. Adai sometimes used by pavada. Pavada, stitched. So therefore, only aristocracy, nobility, wore on special occasion. That too, only on special occasion they were using adai. Udai. And of course, men were using a male mund. That is Uttariyam. In modern Malayalam we say Uttariyam. That is also single piece cloth, expensive cloth, quality white cloth or colored cloth which we put on the shoulder or to cover the upper half. That is called Oliyal in those days. Oliyal. Partly covering the upper half of the body.
Bust.
That is not stitched. It's also single piece. One loin cloth or maybe a longer ankle length cloth worn at the bottom half. And the male munde called Oliyal in Sankham era. There were mention about Oliyal in Sankham literature. Udai, Adai, Oliyal, etc. were all commonly seen terms, dress names seen in Sankham literature.
And what kind of materials, apart from this tala, what kinds of materials used there?
They could use cotton, which was available in plenty.
Cotton was native.
Not much in Malabar, Malankara, Kerala region. It came from Maharashtra region, which was another kingdom. And in ships, cotton would be brought and processed. And there were small kinds of hand looms and all that here. And they would process it and cotton. Either raw cotton brought, rather I can't call it import, it's not foreign import, it came from India only, but outside Thamizhakam. Thamizhakam was having cotton plants also. In present-day Tamil Nadu part of it, cotton plants were there, not in Kerala part. Not in plenty anyway. But of course, bare minimum required for wearing, they were also having cotton. And silk was used by the nobility and royalty. And silk. Silk means the patta they call. Urayur patta was a very Urayur is a place in Chola land, close to Kaveri Pumpattanam, the Chola capital. Urayur happened to be the Chola heartland for a long time. So it was imported from to the Chera land. It was brought from the Chola land. We never had much of a mulberry tree and
mulberry, it is imported.
A mulberry tree having mulberry plant.
Even the plant got imported.
It grows in China predominantly. It grows in China.
Also Chinese silk.
Chinese silk never used to come straight to India those days. They would go to European Mediterranean centers and get rooted from Mediterranean. They apply the dye and color it and bring it as expensive cloth to be worn by nobility, including Chera King Kuttuvan.
Even in those days, synthetic dye was available.
It was natural dye. It was not the synthetic dye.
There was the difference.
It was different. Natural dyes were available. And the dye available was mostly either reddish dye or purple dye. Purple is a royal color. Purple color.
Something similar to our maroon color.
Something similar to maroon. Something between red and blue and violet. Something close to that. It could be violet, it could be maroon, it could be between maroon and violet. That was the color
original
of Phoenicia. Phoenicia, in another episode we were mentioning about Phoenicia. A certain variety of snail seen in deep sea Mediterranean part, closer to the present day Lebanon. These dyes come from the inner covering of these snails. They process it and a dye is created. That dye is considered as a royal dye, used for royal color. Jesus Christ, when he was taken for crucifixion, was adorned with the purple colored the Thumra Varnam in Malayalam. Thumra Varnam. That is the color. That is the royal color. That was preferred by the Chera nobility, Kuttuvan and his family, his concubines and his queens were all highly fond of this color, so purple, and they preferred it in silk and they wear it in a particular way. They fold it, they call it nyori. They fold it and press it. That is give it a shape. Nyori is pleated silk and even pleated cotton were used to dress properly. It would be the style statement. Very expensive, of course, but they wear it in a stylish manner on special occasions. And then they would be wearing a band, a kind of waist tying a knot on the waist. Using another arapatta they use.
So it was also made of cloth.
It is also made of either Virali patta, we say, pattudukuga, that is silk cloth wrapped around with another piece of silk, which is another color maybe another color. So that would be.
They were conscious of the color combination also.
They were conscious about the color combination also. Contrasting colors were used, but mostly it was white. Mostly the cotton was white. This color, just a white off white, not exactly white, off whitish color.
The common term is Kanchipuram silk.
Kanchipuram silk is Kanchipuram
existed in those days.
Urayur closer to that is also Tamil Nadu part. Those days Kanchipuram was not famous. Urayur was famous for silk. Later Kanchipuram became a silk making center.
That's a later
edition. Kanchipuram existed then, but not very much more popular. During Sangham era, it was Urayur in Chola land. Kanchipuram even north of Urayur.
North of Urayur. Yeah. We would like to give the you may please give the details of the segregation in dress style existed in ancient Kerala or Thamizhakam.
In fact, the ancient Thamizhakam was known for social amity rather than social divide. The society was not homogeneous, it was heterogeneous, but the segregation was kept at a minimum point in ancient Thamizhakam. But the Sangham literature, especially Tolkappiyam, talks about Melor and Kijor. Melor, upper class, upper strata in society, the rich and aristocratic people, and Kijor are the lower rung in society, and all were using normal clothing only, but the length differs. When they are wearing a dhoti, a munda, which was known in different names, udai. When they wear an udai, that udai's length differed. Slaves, not slaves, lowest rung in society, very poor people, and umanas, minavas, paridavas, when they go for work, would be wearing only a very short loin cloth. Like it would be only up to the knee length, or less than the length of the knee. Very small piece of cloth, just wrapping around the waist. That was the common practice. A bit more of a higher strata people would be wearing ankle length cloth.
Ankle length.
A little above the ankle. Little above the ankle. 3/4. You can call it 3/4.
In today's language.
Today's language you call it 3/4. But there is no leg as such, just wrapping around. And Maharajas, that is Kuttuvan and World aristocrat Naduvari were allowed to wear, and they were expected to wear, full length cloth up to the feet. But in fact, the pictures will show even Naduvari is wearing 3/4. And only Naduvari is wearing 3/4. Kuttuvan also was scantily clad. They were given a style not by the munda that they wear, the udai or adai that they wear, but by the ornaments that they wear. They were wearing more ornaments than clothes. Heavily adorned. So the body is heavily adorned with ornaments.
More than the cross, the ornaments distinguished them.
Ornaments made them a royal in their presence. So that was very good style statement. Each Kuttuvan had a style statement. The way they wear the ornament matter. We will do an episode on ornaments, another episode on ornaments. So we'll exclusively come to ornaments later.
Okay. I'm not asking ornaments. In the next episode, you will be giving the details of ornaments. Also, more doubts. All you talk about these things. Any authentic records available for the students?
Sangham, as usual, Sangham literature happened to be the primary source of getting an idea about the dress code that existed during that time, the time of 2000 years back time. 2000 years, AD 1st, 2nd and 3rd centuries. And another record that correspond to the portrayal in Sankham literature is the account of Strabo. Strabo is in his chronicles, in his write-up on Kerala. Strabo is European, Mediterranean region. Strabo came from Europe. 2100 years. Strabo writes about 8 emissaries. You might call them either slaves or servants or emissaries or even ambassadors coming from Kerala, that is the Chera land, wanting to see the Roman Empire with gifts and all that. They were wearing only a small loin cloth, and he was explaining as if they were completely naked. But specifically saying that they were only scantily clad with plenty of ornaments, plenty of gold ornaments wrapped all around, and also high quality scent used, perfumes used, extracts of Kerala's illustrious spices. The spice extracts were used, cardamom and sandal, everything used for spicing, for giving that very, very, very good smell.
Good.
So that is also not synthetic. It was not exactly dress that gave a social status. It was the perfumes and gold and precious stone ornaments that gave them the royal stature. Or maybe even they were king's emissaries, the king's ambassadors. So that's the look that we get. And of course, Sankham literature talks about the dress worn by ladies, men, children, but it was nothing great. These names I have mentioned are the ones Uday, Adai, Oliyal, all these things.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the valuable information. Thank you all for listening to us. We will meet you in the next episode.